Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is pretty exciting to be here. I gotta say, this is a big group, too. First off, big thanks to PRSA. They've just, to recognize the work that Project Bread does and to be so generous and to help us to continue to deliver upon our mission is really very significant and very special to us. And so thank you on behalf of my organization. So today I want to spend a little bit of time and tell you about Project Bread. I want to give you some stats, just some things to think about. Project Bread is trying to make a big difference within the state of Massachusetts, and we're doing so by feeding people who are hungry today, as well as working to address the systemic changes, the systemic causes that cause hunger to begin with. So, and also I want to tell you a little bit about the Walk for Hunger. It's how it began, some of the challenges that I have as the Director of Marketing Communications in communicating that, and where we're going on a go-forward basis. Okay, that would be me. Hi. All right, so change. So I'm just going to take one step back from the role of a communicator. I think that, to be honest, I think that we're probably, as communicators, working in the most exciting time for our role. There's so much data that's available to us now, things that we couldn't do not that long ago. I mean, I don't know if anybody was ever in direct mail and had postcards with wide nibs that you'd have to mark so you knew which mailing went to which audience and what came back. It was terrible. So now we're in a situation where we can test. We know what we're going to test the messaging for, what demographic that we're sending to. We know which vehicles we're going to use based upon the diagnostics that we got from those individual groups. We know that the speed in which those messages are going to be delivered, and we've got great source of metrics to determine whether or not that messaging worked. So, it's a great time, but like anything else, change is the only thing that we can ever be really certain of, and what we're doing now is going to change again and again. And unfortunately, the same thing can be said about hunger. The face of hunger continues to change on a regular basis. So in Massachusetts, we're a pretty good state here, pretty affluent, a lot of great universities, colleges, a lot of tech coming into town. There's a lot of things going on. 1 in 10 homes suffer from food insecurity. And food insecurity can vary. It can be that a family may not have enough money to stretch the whole month, and so all of a sudden you're having cereal a couple times more for meals than you might, like a dinner. Breakfast for dinner, we called it. But it can also mean, too, that you don't know where your next meal is coming from, and we have a lot of that in our great state. 675,000 people. That's what we're saying again, 675,000 people in our state are food insecure. And of that, 400,000 of those kids, 400,000 of them are kids. Those kids typically rely on school foods for their source of nutrition, for the mainstay. So a day like today, Columbus Day, many people are off. Project Bread is off, but I'm happy to be here. A lot of kids are out of school, so what do they do for meals today? It's a problem. It's a big problem. So Project Bread, we are the leading anti-hunger organization in the state of Massachusetts. And we're different than a lot of the other anti-hunger organizations because we believe that the opposite of hunger isn't full, but it's healthy. It's quite a big difference. So we approach hunger as a complex set of problems and have solutions for those as well. So basically, what we're trying to do is to increase access to impactful programs and resources. We're looking at investing in community solutions, trying to come up with good solutions for again, changing face of hunger. Thought leadership and research so that we can keep our finger on the pulse and come up with those innovative solutions, and advocacy at the state and federal level so that we can look to encourage the proper funding for those programs so that will increase eligibility for those who need it the most. So what do? We've got 300 programs that we're running across the state. When we look at these things, again, very scalable, different audiences. We've got community-based food programs, things like breakfast before the bell, which many people have heard of, and breakfast in the classrooms. It gives those kids that don't otherwise have a chance to have breakfast that opportunity. We've got a great program called Chefs in Schools. I think it's the coolest thing out there. I've got to just tell you about it. We've got professional chefs, and they work in test kitchens within the Boston area, and they teach kitchen staff how to properly prepare food, how to shop for food, all within the USDA guidelines that are put forth for the school lunch programs. So these different recipes, the school staff is taught different recipes, and they're rolled out to the students, and the students get to sample and taste them. If they like it, they give it a thumbs up. If they don't, they give it a thumbs down. So hopefully we get more thumbs up, but once those thumbs ups once those recipes are approved by the kids, they're then rolled out throughout the district. So now we have a way of encouraging kids to try something new, something that's healthy, something that's a little more nutritious than what they might have had in the past. We do a lot of partnerships with the community health centers where we're screening so that we can understand the root causes of hunger and address that early on, whether that be through recommendations for the SNAP program or food vouchers to get people back on course. And of course, Project Bread has the food source hotline. So we've got a staff of people that are working around the clock to make sure that those individuals that believe that they need help, that they can navigate the process of applying for SNAP. You'd think it would be easy. It's not. It takes a village, really. And then, as I say, we do a lot of grant work. We fund agencies across the state, food pantries, soup kitchens, food banks, and then we do the advocacy work as well. But you know what? We can't do this work alone. We really do rely upon our key partners. Everybody that can help helps us, like PRSA, so we do appreciate that. I've got a video that I want to share with you that gives you a little look at one of the programs that we run. It's a pretty cool video, I have to say. I love it. It's a couple years old, so some of the numbers are a little outdated, but I figured you guys would understand high production value, low nonprofit. We got to figure out how to make that work. So, but really, really good. So in thinking about the Walk for Hunger, which is sort of the genesis of Project Bread, I couldn't help myself. And if you don't hear Glinda's voice in your head when you read this, it's always best to start at the beginning. I can't help you. Just go with me, indulge me, just ha ha ha. All right, great. It's one of those moments. All right, so the Paulist Center is an organization in Boston, and there were a group of, it's a religious sect, basically out of the Catholic Church. There was a group of priests in the 40s that came to Boston called the Paulist Fathers. And they were very much about social justice, and they had a ministry in that sense. And so they used to hold a Wednesday night supper club. They still do, as a matter of fact. But it got to the point that that supper club, which was for the Boston's hungry and homeless, it started to get too busy, and there wasn't enough funding for it. And so this priest, Father Patrick Hughes, and I can't imagine the conversation about this where they were sitting, whether it was in the kitchen or somebody had this idea to come up with a walk for hunger. And they bid, okay, we'll do it, we'll give it a shot. So it started out in 1969 as a 29-mile walk, and there were all sorts of great support for it. The participants in it wore buttons that said "Foot Power," go Foot Power. So 2,000 people set out, and they raised $26,000 in that one day, which was a big deal in '69. So it's with that the Paulist Center kept doing it. But in '74, by the time 1974 came around, the walk was a little too sizable for the ministers and laymen and the priests and the Paulist Fathers to run themselves. So they formed what is today known as Project Bread. And at that point, Project Bread was brought on board to administer the walk and then to help people understand more about the face of hunger back then. You know, and I would say, too, it's kind of cool because a lot of people came out in support of it. You can recognize a couple of those faces. A very young John Kerry before Teresa Hines. The Dukakis, we had all sorts of people that would come out on a regular basis for this walk. Recognize those mommy jeans? And it's the walk itself, you think about this. We've just finished our 49th walk. And since the first day, we've raised over $100 million to help with the hungry people. Pretty big deal. All right, so what's my challenge? That would be on the piece of paper that's stuck together, because that's how we work. All right. There are legacy walkers. These are the people that have been with Project Bread and have walked with us for 49 years. They are our biggest supporters. They are our biggest advocates. They are our biggest fundraisers. They are phenomenal people, but for me, they present the biggest challenge, too. Our numbers are trending in the wrong way right now. There's a lot of activism that's going on. There's a lot of different things that you can get involved in. Project Bread really needs to, like any sales cycle, we need to go back to the well and figure out how we're going to fill our sales funnel. What are we going to do? So for me, it really becomes, you know, it's a challenge to try to find the next generation of walkers. Who are those next heart and soul walkers going to be for us? And it's a bit of, you know, it's a struggle because you're trying to tell the message of what this walk is all about and make it in a way so that people can remember what it is, distill it down into something that's bite-sized. So we didn't know what we were going to come up with, but then we figured it out. Good food is a basic right. It's pretty easy, right? It crosses all the buttons for us. Everybody deserves access to nutritious food, period, full stop. So as we looked at how we were going to do this, we decided, okay, well, you know what? This is a great communications platform for us because Project Bread does more than just provide grant money to the soup kitchens and the homeless shelters and the food banks. We also do, as as I mentioned, a lot of educational work, a lot of advocacy work. So we thought about what we could do in order to make this sizable, digestible, and relevant for the audiences that we wanted to attract. So we started out with the 4 basic tenets of what we do. Protect our children, make hunger history. So this is really about those community food programs, as I mentioned, the breakfast before the bell, the lunches, the summer meals, and that sort of thing. And serve up healthy with a side of dignity. That's my daughter and her co-teacher, by the way. Just gonna say, we recruited everybody we knew to be in this to keep our costs low. So really that's about emergency food. It is the food, it is the dollars that we grant out to those organizations. Hunger is silent, so we speak up. That's my favorite line, I'm telling you. I put that on all the buses. I thought that that was one of those like real advocacy moves. I thought that that was gonna create a groundswell of support. And you know what, it did. I was pretty happy about that. It's all about the social justice piece of this. As a community organizer, we advocate for policy solutions and system change. We partner with the community health centers, as I say, so it's really about making sure that everybody has the benefit of that access. And then the last one is plant a garden, grow a neighborhood, which is really about urban agriculture, which is not as significant, but at the same time, think about that. We invest in a lot of farms, we invest in a lot of urban ag projects where the community's able to grow food for the community. They do CSAs. It gives the kids in the community an opportunity and a place to work, learn some experience, get some experience. It's a pretty big deal, so we were really excited about that. All right, so like anything else, very quickly, how did we do this? Because this, to me, was the big challenge. It was trying to get words out so that people could hear about us. So same thing everybody does, right? It's earned media, it's owned media, and it's the purchased media. And the scalability of the messaging. But for us, it was also, too, is it a physical delivery, meaning that you're having meetings or you're face-to-face with people, or is it more mechanical? And the mechanical stuff, you always run the risk because the reader can interpret your message the way that they want to. But we went through the campaign push. We did all of the traditional stuff. So we did all the print, we did the broadcast, I did events, I did op-eds, I did as much press as I could, on-air interviews, social campaigns. I got people to blog on our behalf, which was good. We did the whole gamut of things. But it's always a challenge when you're talking about something like Project Bread and the work that we do, because we try to protect the dignity of those that we serve at all costs. Again, full stop. So that's why we engaged members of our community, members of our family, our friends, to get them out there, because we were trying to position the visual for this in a way that somebody walking by or seeing a bus that went by, they could see themselves in an ad. Instead of having a sad family, which has been done, we were looking for a way in which people could understand, hey, you know what, I need to be part of this too. And I'm very pleased to say that when we went through the process and we did our post-event survey, 24.8% of survey respondents told us that they were first-time walkers. And that was huge. For me, that was huge, because again, it's all about moving the needle. It's getting more people involved so that they're introduced to Project Bread, they then become engaged, they advocate on our part, and then eventually it's the word of mouth that we're going to get for them. We looked at doing a bunch of different social campaigns, so we did charity, which is sort of that crowdfunding, profile screens. We did Snapchat filters and takeovers. We used a tag board with hashtags to generate all of the content, to post it. And we were trending for a little while, and Trends Map Boston, so that was kind of cool. And in the social piece, I think the thing that was most important to me was that as I started to go through and look at all the social content that was generated by our walkers, I was seeing things that really meant a lot to me. The comments were that people had pride in their accomplishments, that they had team spirit. We saw a lot of awareness for the mission, recognition of our campaign. So people were saying, hey, hunger is silent, and I spoke up. It was just, for us, it was a really big deal, and that's exactly what we were after. It was really just about making sure that the message resonated with the audience so that we could get those folks back involved with us. And so I'm very happy that all of that worked. All right, so Walk for Hunger. Coming up to the 50th. The 50th walk will be May 2018. So I'm at a nice pivot point here. So this is going to be like a little shout out too, just in case anybody out here is interested in pro bono or low bono work. I'm not going to, I'm captive audience. We have a brand new president on board. I just onboarded her a week ago. And so we're at the point now where we're looking back at everything that Project Bread has done over the course of 50 years. And now it's to that we're at that point too, we're going to move forward. What are we going to be in the next 50 years? It's pretty exciting. I would throw out to you, please think about getting involved with Project Bread, whether you're able to walk or you fundraise, whether you can advocate on behalf of those that need that help, or just lend us your time and your talent. But we'd be happy to have you. Thank you very much.